Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between Norsca, led by Wulfric, and the High Elves, who are going to be led by the Crazy Pigeon Lady. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So here in the front line, it's pretty much going to be all Marauder champions with the axes and shields, and I was about to go on some big diatribe why I'm, bring them in this matchup, but the answer is actually right in front of me. So you can see my opponent here does have three groups of the Reaver Archers, so a massive skirmish kiting build here. So three Reaver Archers, four groups of the Shadow Warriors, all of whom have pretty good range at 180, then a couple of groups of Dragon Princes, and of course the Queen of the Trash Devs up here, Alariel the Radiant. So it's going to be pretty tough, and that's the reason why you want to bring a little bit more durable infantry. If I had gone with like Berserkers and lightly armored troops, and even troops without shields, I would just be taking massive damage. But the shields, even though I think they provide 30%, 35% mitigation, that's going to make a big difference. And of course, the fact that they have 80 armor is going to be really useful because Reavers and Shadow Warriors don't really have the best armor piercing. So in the front line, all Marauder champions with the axes and shields. On top of that, they trade pretty well with Spearmen, but obviously my opponent didn't bring any. For our backline, we do have a couple of groups of the Famir Warriors, one group with great weapons, and the other one is going to be the Miststalkers. Miststalkers are pretty good. They have solid armor piercing, so if the High Elves just kind of pull a 360 and come in with White Lions and Swordmasters, these guys can put a pretty substantial beating on them, and yeah, they're just a pretty good unit. And they have stock, which is cool, so they're not going to take damage from like Sisters of Avalorn and things like that while they're advancing. For my leadership, Wulfric the Wanderer here is very good. Seafang is pretty good against like Archer lines and Spearman lines. He's good with the Hunter of Champions at snaring down the Pigeon Lady and other lords. I think he's a little bit safer than Throg, because if you bring Throg against very heavy missile play, Wulfric has 100 armor and a shield, so he's going to be able to mitigate a lot of that damage, whereas Throg is just going to take it all to the face, which is going to be tough. We have a Shadowcaster, Melkoth's Enfeebling Foe, and the Pendulum, a couple of groups of spears on our flanks, and we also have the Icehorn Marauders hiding in the forest, some fluffy hounds back here. We have the Norscan Ice Wolves, and then one group of regular Norscan Warhounds. So you guys already saw my opponent's army for the most part is basically just a massive kiting build, which is going to be pretty tough. So at first I was just kind of taking a gauge of my opponent's army, just sitting here like, all right, what should I do? Where do I want to approach? I did see some Dragon Princes coming through the forest here and on the other side. So he's basically going to try and force me to chase him, which I will eventually have to do most likely. But you can see the Dragon Princes coming in for a charge. So I didn't think he would be this ballsy, but these guys are coming in. They get a nice little charge, but it looked like the nature of the terrain it wasn't like as bad as it could have been. So I take some damage there on the champions, a little bit sloppy on my part, not having my Famir up there. But I do also respond with a Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma. So hopefully that'll do some pretty good damage there. But yes, he wants to pull me out. He wants me to charge him, which I'm going to have to, really. I mean, I think I could sit here and probably weather this, but that was going to take forever. So I was like, you know what? I want to get this game on the way. We're going to be advancing here. You can see an Earthblood going down on the Dragon Princes, counteracting the damage I did. I would say that's good. I spent 5 Winds of Magic to do that, and he spent, like 6, 7, or 8. I forget what it is for Earthblood, but quite a bit. Anyways, all of his archers are focus firing here, trying to snipe my caster. It looks like either that or they're going after the champions, but I think it was my caster. Only has 65 armor, so I tried to hide him amongst the shields. He is going after the hounds right now, so we're going to do a little bit of fast forwarding as there is some posturing here, and I was trying to see what he was doing with his princes before I committed to moving, but ultimately I do end up advancing here in just a moment. So he does come over here with the Dragon Princes. I go out there with my hounds and the Famir Warriors with great weapons, and now is the time to strike. So I push out. You can see all my Marauder champions are going 35 speed against 38, so I'm certainly not going to catch him, but some of the Dragon Princes are coming in against my champions here, which is fine. I was kind of like, okay, they're going to get a little bit wrapped up here. I get a Melkoth's, the Famir coming in, and also the Norscan Frosthound. So the Frosthounds are going to come in and apply Frostbite. Great weapons are coming in as well, and they're going to start clubbing these guys. The Famir with great weapons do such damn good work against like heavy cav and stuff like that. So we get some good damage in. One of the Dragon Prince groups does take a lot of casualties there, pretty substantial. Looks like the Star of Avalorn does go down a little bit mistimed there, or maybe he was trying to click on it. I don't think it follows. I think it has to like stay. It might still be healing this group, but for the most part, a very good engagement for us. But still continuing to chase here. My Norscan Warhound's getting a little bit beaten up, and the other group of Dragon Princes did charge into the front with my infantry, which is touch. I'll look pretty tough here. And the Crazy Pigeon Lady, of course, is leading her beak here, which is it's hard. So my Famir Warriors are a little bit, they are fast, relatively speaking. I think they have like 45 speed, but it's still tough to keep up with the Dragon Princes, and all of that missile pressure still doing quite a bit of damage. But I'm hoping he'll run out of ammunition and get a little bit slower here in regards to his damage output. Let's go ahead and fast forward here as the Dragon Princes are pushed back. I do get a decent little pendulum right there, and he charges in with his Reaver. So basically my hounds had caught his archers here, and you can see the hounds are chewing on a couple of the Shadow Warriors, but he charged in with his Reavers, who are pretty good in melee, and that's what's really good about Reaver Archers, is they're actually pretty strong in melee. They have 33 melee attack, 35 melee defense when their prowess is active. So he charged in, he shut down my hounds, and was able to retreat with the Shadow Warriors. Granted, you can see my pirate boats coming in. I tried to get an angle, but unfortunately I didn't predict it correctly, but it still gets in there and does some okay damage to a couple of groups of those Shadow Warriors. But ultimately, I'm just kind of on the chase here. You can see a lot of my guys are getting a little bit tattered, but that's where the Marauder champions with the shields are really coming to effect. They're weathering the storm incredibly well. a lot of Norscan armies would have just been picked apart by now. So Wolfric the Wanderer falling back right here. There are a couple of the High Elf troops kind of lingering. Some Shadow Warriors getting dragged down. They're just being left behind by their brothers, which is a little bit unfortunate, but my opponent forced pathing backwards very aggressively. Some of these spears did catch these archers, so hopefully we can get some casualties here, but it looks like the Dragon Princes might be going for another Rohirrim charge here in the front line, lancing into my Marauder champions, which is a little bit tough. I still have the Famir there who's helping out, and he has high mass too. But yeah, the Famir are very good in this matchup. These guys are solid. They're one of the few things that keeps the Dragon Princes in check, and I really think Famir with great weapons here are really solid. So my opponent focus firing the Spearmen, it looks like. They don't have shield, so he's trying to just do everything he can to kind of whittle my numbers down. But he's kind of running out of space to run here, so he's very close to the edge of the map, and the Norscans are just hot in pursuit. The Hounds are chasing as well. We're just doing everything we can to pressure him, but really I think it's going okay. It's a pretty damn even battle at this point. He charges in with his Knights, but this time I had my Famir up front, so yes, they'll be taking the charge head on, but they have really good mass. They're not going to be sent flying, and on top of that, they're also very heavily armored. So the Dragon Princes, not being the Fireborn with like a bonus for his large, aren't going to do a whole lot against these guys. So yeah, look at that charge coming in there. Just a massive charge against some Marauder champions. It looks like a big heal is going to be going off in Earthblood, extended duration, so he did overcast it. And the Shadow Warriors just kind of reposition, start shooting in there, and you know, even that volume of fire will eventually get in through those Famir Warriors. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at the armor piercing value. So they have 23 missile damage, which is solid, and they do have 4 AP, which isn't terrible. So they should be able to chew through those Famir eventually if they're able to sit, you know, unimpeded. But every time the Dragon Princes come in, they're taking pretty substantial damage. These two Dragon Princes pretty much out of the picture. This one last group is kind of fighting here in the pits. You can see the Hunter of Champions has gone down on the Trash Pigeon Lady. And Wolfric's on the hunt. He's lurking in the background. He was a little bit behind for some reason. I'm not sure why he was back there, but I think I might have either forgotten or he was chasing something else. But yeah, the Famir Warriors doing pretty good stuff. You can see the Heart of Averlorn is going to be going down, healing up these Dragon Princes, but there is a lot of damage output here, and Wolfric just comes slamming in right here. And now the balance of power is creeping in my favor a little bit. As the Dragon Princes do get beat up, all my opponent really has left are Illyrian Reaver Archers over here. He has Shadow Warriors, but they're really not doing that much damage. I mean, yes, they're wearing me down a little bit, and a pretty good Reaver charge there for my opponent, which is going to do some okay damage to the backs of those Marauders who weren't really facing them. But those Famir really just anchoring that formation, just staying and fighting. Every time stuff comes in, they're getting me value. The champions are just kind of absorbing it, so we have a bit of a hammer and anvil. Well, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, the Marauder champions, definitely the ones taking the beating while the Famir are kicking out the pain a little bit. So in the meantime, you can see Alariel, the Trash Pigeon Lady, is flying up above. I do get a pretty good Sea Fang right down the alley right there, which hits those archers and some of those other troops, but he's going to be retreating right here, so I'm just going to be gathering my wits, getting my forces reorganized, and basically what I end up doing is I put one group of spears right here to make sure he can't like kite me through here, and if he does, he has to fight through a full health group of spears. You can see there's actually 90 models right there. The other group is we're actually just going to push through the valley here. So we're going through the forest, and it looks like it's about time for the final climactic showdown as Wolfric the Wanderer leads his troops. It looks like the Alariel does engage there, and this is going to be it. So the High Elves charging through the valley, the Norscans rushing to meet them, and yeah, we still have quite a few from here. One of the groups did get pretty heavily beaten up here, but they're going to have to pull back for sure. Alariel did take a bit of damage, and a lot of those archers took some work, but you can see the Shadow Warriors shooting from the shadows. That was pretty bad. But they're shooting from the shadows, having a pretty good time there, shooting at some of my hounds. So picking off the Norscan hounds, definitely some good targeting for my opponent, making sure I don't have anything that can really catch him back there. And he's just kind of cycle charging at this point. But man, if I didn't bring these Famir, I would just be getting punished so hard by those cycle charges. But they're able to kind of anchor and break down those charges. I also do respond with Melkot's Mystifying Miasma. And yeah, it's basically just kind of a Norscan blob chasing them down. Very good timing for my opponent, getting all of his forces in one blob and then getting that healing off. So netting some value, but I'm still pretty ahead on the balance of power. My forces are advancing. I do get a pendulum there, which clips the edge of those guys. I was like, you know what, I might as well just use my Winds of Magic. So now they're charging in. It looks like a lot of his troops are running out of ammunition, so they're going to have to finally come in and fight these Norskins. Obviously, my opponent being a gentleman here, not wanting to draw KITE, which I was very appreciative for. So the Illyrian Reavers do get terrified and kind of beaten down, and now it's really up to the Shadow Warriors, all of whom have about one volley. This one has 2 volleys. I think one of them was actually out of ammunition. These guys just ran out. So Wolfric leading the charge is going to get in there and skewer a couple of Shadow Warriors. Just all that pent-up rage from being kited all game, and the Famir are following in suit. So now there's not really any Dragon Princes. The Famirs are going to be able to just kind of club these guys pretty badly. Shadow Warriors aren't bad in melee, though. That's kind of one of the things that's cool about them. Let's go ahead and look at their stats. So they have 38 melee attack, so pretty similar stat line to the champions. Now the champions are actually quite a bit better, but, you know, close enough that they can actually put up a fight. So some of the Reavers do charge into these champions on the far side. The Spears, who I used to kind of deny his retreat, are now coming in to collapse. And at this point, it's gonna be the last stand. So it looks like the Pigeon Lady is also fighting in here, but Wolfric is gonna be able to attack her. And the Famir Caster is also there, so there's some armor sundering. It looks like she's just flying up in the air and dropping Norskins on the ground. Always a fun time. But at this point, it's pretty much going to be all she wrote as the Reaver Archers. They're not really going to be able to hang the same combat with the Norscan troops, who've just had this massive rage boner the entire game, just like chasing down these troops as they get guided. So Yeah, you can see that Alario here is going to be fighting Wulfric, and that is going to be the last stand of the High Elves, as Wulfric the Wanderer is able to fend off the forces of the Radiant one. So that's pretty much it. So man, that was a pretty stressful game. I know watching the replay back, since we had a lot of like fast forwarding and stuff like that, it probably didn't look super intense, but man, it was like so micro intensive. There's so many units coming in, the cav charges, the mass kiting. It's really tough to deal with for Norsca, but this is actually, I believe this is the same build from my Norsca guide, with the exception of the spears. So normally I just run like 2 more groups of Marauders, but this time I wanted some spears just in case of like heavy cav charges and things like that. But I don't know, the regular Marauders with shields could have been good against missile play as well. But yeah, for the most part, I think the Marauder champions are the ultimate safe pick in the front line. They can weather missile fire, they can weather charges for the most part. I mean, yes, they're going to get beaten up, but they can take it. Just a very durable front line, which I feel like you need in this matchup. You know, against infantry, they would probably honestly trade very effectively with white lines. Like, even though they're not an AP unit, it would be a pretty close fight. Swordmasters will obviously beat them up pretty badly, but I think they're like the ultimate safe pick here. They're durable against missiles, charges, they can win in sustained combat versus High infantry. They're just the heroes of their people. The Fimir are really the MVPs, though. Ever since Norsca has made a comeback in Total War Warhammer 2, I think Fimirs have been really kind of the stars of the Norscan roster. Just really good, a solid anchor. They give you options against large targets, against infantry, armor sundering. They just bring a lot to the table. Wulfric and Shadowcaster was pretty happy with their performance. Definitely cannot complain. And yeah, and for my opponent's build, yeah, that's some tough stuff. It's pretty micro intensive to take out builds like that, but there was a couple of good engagements we were able to get versus the Dragon Princes where we wore them down. And also the fact that we brought so many shields was really a saving grace there. But yeah, it was a wild one. So very well played to my opponent, the Light of Asur. Look forward to running into again on ladder. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this Norsca versus High Elf game. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.